many of us are busy professionals, and we can imagine the time when we can access services at any time. But as the others have said, they're outside of our own requirements for access for services 24/7. We also have the need for improving efficiency. And therefore it is very important that we focus on flexible work arrangements. Now, the perspective that I wanted to bring to this is that at the end of the day, we are accustomed to a fairly inflexible system. We generally work from Monday to Friday. There's a perception that we need to see people to know that they're working, and that for us equates to productivity. In many organizations, if persons request time off because they have family responsibilities, etc., they're seen as not being committed to the organization. And we as managers are also concerned about the level of abuse if we were to go with flexible work arrangements. What I had wanted to share is really some thoughts that we need to look at if we're going to go this direction. Because like the others, I think there's a demand for it. The demand is coming from not only the business environment, but from employees themselves requiring more flexible times. And it is important for us to look at what are the practical things we should consider if we are going to go flexible work arrangements. And the first one I wanted to throw out for discussion is the issue of changing mindsets. Now, many people will say that change must start from the top. And management must focus on results in a flexible work arrangement. Most managers now are accustomed to managing in time and place, and the on-the-clock concept is deeply rooted in what we do. If we can't see persons, we don't think we can manage them. And the studies have shown and research has shown, and persons who have been providing that framework have said that we need to creating flexible work arrangements require a culture shift where people are trusted, because there'll be less monitoring and less supervision. We must bring an end to the command and control micromanagement that many of our organizations are accustomed to. It's a journey where managers must play a key role in supporting change. But I want to throw out that it is not only about changing the mindsets of management, it is also about changing the mindsets of employees. Employees generally, we sometimes feel that when we work hard, work long hours, we show commitment to our organizations. In cases where persons are teleworking, if you have demands at home that compete with demands for work, that can be disastrous. And we have some companies where the policies are not as straight as they should be, or as comprehensive as they should be, and people flex in and out of the business, and that affects our productivity, our costs, etc. But if you have employees with a positive mindset about their performance, who are committed to the organization, having a flexible work arrangement will not change that.
Market out there, if there's growth, what are we really thinking about this for? I think that, as I said, the driver for this must be the fact that we want to make the productive capacity of this country better and to expand it. If that is not the driver, in other words, business development, then I think we are really not going to achieve anything, because the worker himself will not see the benefit of working longer, working other hours, if it is not going to conduce to the whole question of an expanded economy. So it is really about that. Now, the matter of what the facilitating part of government and the private sector does is also important. Because the question, you raised the question of licensing, you raised the question of those agencies that take money in. That has been a major issue, not only for in government, in the private sector too. SurePay has resolved a lot of it. Online situations, online payments has actually done that. But I hear some of my colleagues all the time complain of going into the banks and spending long times in lines. And one said, why is that still so after 30 or 40 years? I know the banks have been trying to reduce their teller lines and so on. So I'm saying that it is not, well, it is the public sector to some extent that still has the, I don't know what it is, 8:30 to 3 and so on. Some of that has to be changed because people now are requesting it. But the bottom line in my view is that we have to recognize that if we are to earn the necessary foreign exchange, to be able to continue with a standard of living that we have, then our productive capacity in whatever area has got to grow. We cannot have a situation where we have a retreating sugar industry, and I really don't see that we're going to have one after 10 years from now. That might be in contradiction to what the Prime Minister said recently. But as I live in St. Philip, and as I drive through the valley, every day less and less land is devoted to sugar. And we know what is happening down in St. Peter and those other parts. And therefore the question is, what is going to replace that? In terms of the numbers that it employs, and also the question of the foreign exchange that it earns. So we really are onto, in my view, as a people, a very deep thought that we must put into what it is that Barbados is going to be able to be producing that the world wants 10 years from now. As leaders, we have to, at one and the same time, strike out and try to lead, and at the same time try to listen to the people that we are leading. And at times you have to decide how you're going to balance those two things. But as I said, can we not afford to do it? And therefore, if the answer to that is that we cannot afford not, we can, what is it, cannot afford not to do it, then we have to find a way, both in terms of the unions, to get our members around to see how we can do it best, and certainly the employers. Let me caution though that I heard Dawn, and I hope I'm not misconstruing what you said, when you spoke about flexible work arrangements and if somebody came and you wanted to do something else and so on. And I twinned that with the point that Michelle was making about job descriptions. You know, sometimes we tie ourselves up in knots with writing job descriptions that are so specific that even the people who are working with them would like to get out of the knot, but they can't. Or they are not allowed to by some of their colleagues. And I caution and say that we have now to recognize that going forward, that the question of a job, this job description has to speak about a job sphere, SPHE. In other words, what's surrounding this task, this job that you are being asked to do. Again, that calls for a change. But we can't stretch it as far as some employers may want to do. That is, somebody is supposed to be counting cash and they're asked to sweep. But clearly within a particular sphere, then we need to be able to flex those kind of things to take account of what is required, because our competitors are doing it. And that, in my view, must be a very fundamental drive for us, because if we don't, then we are going to be left behind. as we are beginning to be. When I read all of the stats, I mean, I don't know how they are collected, but we're falling behind in all of the indicators. Why is that? I saw an article this week. Is it that we are falling, or is it that other people are running faster? Whatever it is, we are losing ground. So I want to look at it. Yes, we're going to have fights. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have challenges. But because those come, does not mean that we should not face it and attempt to make the necessary change.